I'm Professor Greg Long at Northern Illinois University, and today's lesson is going to focus on defining and understanding what we mean by the term disability. Before we do that, though, what I'd like you to do is pause your video for just a moment and write down as many, and a moment is, say, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, write down as many disabilities as you can. All right, so what I'd like you to do is look at your list, and I want you to think about the disabilities that you listed, and I want you to classify them, if you would. Classify them as disabilities that are apparent, are things that you can see, such as like a spinal cord injury or an amputation or someone who's using a cane or a service dog, versus what we call hidden or invisible disabilities, the things that we don't normally see or think about in terms of mental illness, learning disabilities, attention deficit disorder. So look at both of your lists. One of the things I suspect that you will find when you do that is that most of you, and that's no one's unique in this one, but that we tend to have many more things that are in the visible column, if you will, of disabilities than the hidden column. Because when you have a visible disability, people can see it. There's really no question about whether you do or do not have it, versus those individuals who have invisible disabilities. That's always a question, and so we tend not to think about that. As we do with each and every of our lessons, we want to begin the lesson with an etiquette question. And today's etiquette question is, how do you know if somebody has a disability? So think about that for a moment. How do you know if someone has a disability? And the answer is, you don't. It goes back to our hidden versus visible disability discussion. There are many, many times when people have disabilities that they may not have disclosed, you may not know about, and so you really don't know when someone has a disability, which is why within this course we talk about different things like person-first language and other ways to show respect just in general with people, so that you don't run the risk of coming across poorly or less than professionally. So following that etiquette question, I'd also like you to hear from a couple of our guest speakers who will talk to you about their perception and some of the struggles they face with the idea of having a hidden disability. Because as we mentioned in our question, you don't know if someone has a disability, and as such, it does create some problems. So with that, let's look at our student clip.
I think I would disclose because my disability is visible. And so I kind of want to let people know that to begin with, and that way they're not shocked when they see me. That way I can kind of limit the really good chances of getting a job from the people that might not want to hire me just because I have a disability. It kind of saves me some time, and it makes me feel a lot less nervous when I am interviewing, because even though I am seen in this wheelchair or with crutches, a lot of times people don't know what my disability is. So I think it is good for me to disclose, but I could understand if someone had a hidden disability that they wouldn't want to disclose. So.
I have anxiety with tests. With one of my classes, I had to go to the DRC and take a test, or take the test over there, and the teacher didn't really believe that I needed the accommodations. Well, they say that depression is just something to get over. I just don't think when you say that you have depression or anxiety, people that don't have it, they don't realize that's a real thing, because it's a hidden disability. And when people have like a broken arm, they were like, oh, do you need help with anything? But now that you have the depression or anxiety, they're like, just get over it, you're fine.
A lot of people question whether or not I have a true disability. I used to get made fun of a lot as a kid because when I would stare off into space, I was actually referred to as spacey. It wasn't really anything they understood. Now, if they saw me convulsing on the floor, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. But, I've done things like put shoes in duffel bags when I had a seizure, and I have no idea why. Couldn't explain that to anybody, but it's hard because people don't get it. Unfortunately, I've learned to tell teachers that I have epilepsy because of an incident in high school where I was having a seizure and a teacher threw an eraser at me. she thought I was being a smart aleck. I usually get a smirk on the left side of my face because my seizures come from my right brain, and she thought I was being a smart aleck. And when I came to, my friends, helping me, I said, "Why is the eraser on my desk?" And she said, the teacher threw an eraser at you. So now I'm afraid of what teachers will do. And, that was in high school. And I've had college professors, ask if they should put leather belts in my mouth or, send me outside. I'm like, well, just make sure I'm safe. So unfortunately, I have to tell people because I'm terrified of what somebody would do if I'm unconscious or even, unable to tell them that something's wrong. So, and it's also like, if you're staring off into space, I've been called stupid, and it's like, that's not, people don't understand that there are several different types of seizures. So, but if I were to be convulsing, they'd, okay, now we need to hurry and do something. So it's a little bit difficult to try and explain the concept to any professor.
I mean, again, it's just you have to put a lot of faith in the teacher, seeing that, like, you have to put faith in them in hopes that they'll put faith in you and just understand that you're getting these accommodations because it's something that you actually need and not something that you just kind of want. So it can be very frustrating because you know that there's a chance that they're not going to believe you, that they're going to give you a hard time for it because they can't physically see what's wrong and they don't know what's wrong. Because like with a physical disability, you can look and see, oh, well, this person's going to need this much help because they look like they have this. The invisible disabilities, hence invisible, they don't know. And I feel like that's just, it puts a sense of doubt in a lot of them and makes things very difficult at times just because they don't know.